All right, and before I dive in any further, does anybody want captioning on for this? I'm happy to turn that on if that's going to be helpful for anybody. I can't see all of the windows for the pictures, but if you pop something in the chat, if you'd like captioning on, let me know. Okay, all right. So, and also as I'm going, if you can't hear me, if I'm talking too fast, something like that, please feel free to pop something in the chat or unmute yourself and say, hey, something like that. I'm flying solo from our team today, so I'm trying to keep a good eye on the chat. I won't be able to see all the everybody's individual windows, so if you hands up or something like that, I'll try to catch it, but feel free. I've got the chat right next to my screen, so I should be able to catch something if you pop something in the chat. All right, so we are recording. And the next piece is that this is going to be a 60-minute session and then questions. So if you have questions that pop up as we go along, feel free to pop something in the chat. Feel free, if it's right on what we're talking about, to unmute yourself and say, hey, I'm okay with that. And then we'll also have places throughout the training where I will pause and say, any questions? So that's going to be a good time to ask questions if you've got them. And we'll also have time at the end. So questions are welcome, and I'll try to manage them as they come in, and I'll do some pauses and things throughout to give you a chance to ask. And the next piece is we're going to have some practice activities. So we're going to do what we're calling a watch then do model. If you've gone to any of the scheduling trainings recently, or Jesse just did an introduction to Coursedog last week, this is something that we're using this year. So it'll be a little bit of me doing slides and kind of walking you through things on my screen, and then we'll have moments where I'm going to ask you to go ahead and log into Coursedog and do a little bit of practice. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's a good opportunity to practice out if this is new to you and things like that. I will be sure to let you know when those moments are that we'll want to have you pop into your own screen and do Coursedog. Otherwise, go ahead and keep your eyes on this screen. That's good. And then the agenda. So what we're going to be covering today is we're going to talk about where we are in the curriculum build process. And then we're going to talk about navigating course data. We'll talk about proposing a change to a course, as well as adding a new course. And we'll talk about both standalone courses and cross-listed courses. We'll talk about managing cross-list requests. So that's as an impacted department. And we'll do practice activities. So before diving in, any questions before we dive in? Good so far? Okay. So I want to do a little bit of a check-in. Normally we're running this as a poll, but my poll option has dropped off of my Zoom. So I'm just going to ask, and then I'll ask you to put your answers in the chat. So just as a check-in, kind of getting a sense of where people are coming from with their learning experience in Coursedog so far, we're curious about a couple of things. So option A is, I'm brand new to my role and have never managed courses before. Option B is, I was new this past year and wanted a refresher. Option C is, I'm old hat at this, but always enjoy seeing what might be new. And option D is, it's better than working on emails. So feel free to pop into the chat kind of where you're at. So that'll help me kind of know who we've got's new and who's had some practice. Totally fine, Karina, we're just getting started. So I just did a little intro about what we're getting started on. And then we're just starting to dive in. So wonderful. Okay, so I see answers coming into the chat. Thank you so much, everyone. Great, so we've got some new folks, some recently new folks, some old hat. All right, great, we got a nice mix of folks, so wonderful. All right, well, thank you for your answers in the chat, much appreciated. And then let's go ahead and move along. So we are going to, and the leaf blower is right outside my window right now. So can everybody hear me okay? Great, thank you. 'Tis the season, I guess. All right, so let's see, here we are. So we did the poll and we are diving into the 4 pillars of curriculum management. So this is a sort of format that we kind of put together last year, and it kind of ties together what we do. So we have this concept of there being 4 pillars of curriculum management. There being program management, which is your degree programs, course management, schedule management, and then class enrollment management. So those are our 4 pillars. And today specifically, we're talking about course management. And then looking at where we are in the curriculum build process, we have 4 phases for curriculum build, and that can apply to both courses and programs. Each phase is based on deadlines like prior term copy, the bulletin going live, enrollment opening, things like that. And for today's purposes, we are in phase 1, and specifically for today, we're in phase 1 for course maintenance. And this is basically running up to the submission deadline to be ready for prior term copy, which I believe is May 12th. Yes, so May 12th is going to be the deadline to get your changes in for prior term copy. It's not the end of the world. If you miss something, you'll be able to continue to make changes throughout the year leading up to each quarter. But this is your chance to kind of take your first run at getting your courses set up for next year. So that's where we are in phase 1. And then we are going to, any questions about where we are phase-wise? Phase 1, prior term copy, any of that good stuff? Good, okay, all right. So then we're going to take a little look at Coursedog. So still, I'll go ahead and kind of walk through things, and then I'll let folks know when we're ready to dive in and have you all practice. But here we are. This is the Coursedog landing page. So when you log into Coursedog, this is what you're going to see. You'll have 3, we call these modules. So there's the scheduling model, which is where you do your scheduling. There is the curriculum module and the catalog module. The catalog is where your departmental overview pages for the bulletin live, as well as general university policies. We call that, quote, front matter material for the bulletin. And then curriculum is both where your courses live and where your programs live. So your degree programs, as they appear in the bulletin, are both under the curriculum part. So for what we're working on today, we're going to go ahead and dive into curriculum. And this is the layout of the curriculum management landing page. So here you'll see that we've got the curriculum management module name up in the left-hand side of the screen. And then we're specifically today going to be focusing on courses. So you can see you have this left side navigation. You can see courses, programs are also here, proposals, drafts. And I think I'm supposed to be clicking through this as I go. So also you can get to your proposals from this landing page, and you can get to your drafts. So a proposal is one that you have submitted. It's a proposal once you've kind of clicked submit and it's gone off into the workflow world. A draft is essentially a proposal that you haven't submitted yet. So if you're working on your courses, same goes for programs. As soon as you start creating something new or editing something existing, it creates a draft. So say you're halfway through editing a course, you get pulled away, you step away, and you need to come back to the edits. Once you've started a proposal, and if you step away, you can come back to it through the drafts. Rather than starting all over again, you can just go to your drafts, pick up where you left off. It auto saves as you go, so you don't have to, if you're looking for a save button, there isn't one, but it is auto saving as you go. So that's where things exist. Drafts before you submit, proposals once you've submitted. And then we've got a to-do list in the middle of the screen. We're logged in as Jane Stanford here, and currently Jane has no tasks. But if you do have tasks in your queue, there will be blue bars that about this size, and it'll list, if it's a course, it'll list what the course is. If it's a program, it'll list the program, but that'll notify you that you have some tasks that need your attention. And then you also have the My Proposals link on the right-hand side. So both My Proposals here on the right and Proposals here on the left will get you to the Proposals page. It's just if you click My Proposals, it'll take you immediately to a tab on the Proposals page that is specifically your stuff, as opposed to everybody's stuff. So you can get to Proposals either way. And that's kind of the landing page. Any questions so far about getting onto the curriculum management page, navigating around this space? Good. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about that we'll I'll mention a little bit later as well once we're actually once we're actually looking at Coursedog. But this is some new vocabulary that's specific to Coursedog, and I think that's something that's kind of new, and revisions and versions sound a lot alike, so wanted to give a little bit of a note on the differences and what they are. So in Coursedog, a revision is essentially like an effective term. It's referring to the first quarter in which the change you're making will be active. So a revision is like the effective term. It doesn't set or limit the quarter in which the course can be offered. So most of you, if you're proposing changes for next year in preparation for prior term copy, you'll be putting in a revision date or an effective term of 2023 to 2024 autumn. That's saying that you want these changes to be active as early as autumn quarter. That doesn't mean that you can only offer the course in autumn quarter. That just means that's when the changes go into effect. You can schedule the course anytime throughout the year. That just sets when the changes are first effective. Most courses should only have one revision per year. So again, for next year, that would be 2023 to 2024 autumn. And then the times where somebody might create a new revision, essentially create another effective term within the same year, would be, say you are offering a course and it's offered in the fall and the grading basis is RO options. So students can take it letter or credit, no credit. And then the course is going to be offered again in the spring, and the instructor has decided they want it to only be letter grade. So students can only take it for a letter grade. In that case, you would add an additional revision after autumn for spring, changing the grading basis. But that's only because the course is changing from autumn to spring. So you can have an autumn revision that applies for the whole year, but if you're changing things after the course has already been offered in the year, then you're looking at making an additional revision or adding a new effective date for later in the year. Any questions so far on revisions? Okay, so versions. Versions are essentially the records of changes made within a given revision. So each time you submit a course edit proposal without creating a new revision, so you keep it at, say, 23 to 24 autumn, but you're maybe updating the course description, you're essentially creating a version within the same year. So it's just essentially a record on the same effective term or the same revision. An example is you need to update the description and the course hasn't been offered yet in the year. So you don't need to create a new effective term. You just make an edit on the existing effective term, and that's perfectly fine. And that's kind of the right way to go on something like that. For this, you don't need to update the revision date. And so you would leave the revision as 23 to 24 autumn, and then the system will record the change as a new version on that revision. So the terms are so similar and describe sort of minute details of things. So just kind of wanted to give a rundown on that for folks. Questions on revisions and versions? Great, okay. So next I am going to be giving you a demo apparently. So Coursedog demo. So we're going to take a look at course template navigation. So here, let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am here on my Coursedog. I'm going to log into curriculum, and then I'm going to go directly to courses here on the left-hand side. I'm in my current user mode as an admin, so I'm currently seeing everything. This is also the default mode. There are filters that you can set up, and that's actually something that Jessie covers in her, I think she covers it in Introduction to Coursedog. But we've got a couple of links. I've got to scooch some things around here on my screen real quick. I'll pop these in the chat. No. Sorry, flying solo has its challenges. Okay, so copy. So let's see. Okay, so the first one I'm going to pop in the chat real quick for you as a reference, if it would let me copy the link, please, is links for filtering instructions in Coursedog. Belabor the, oh, come on now. It's being cranky at me. I apologize. I'm going to give this one last try. Yay, okay. So popping into the chat, this is a link to Inside Student Services on a page on how to create filters for yourself. And when I talk about filters, you can, for instance, filter to just show your department's courses, that sort of a thing. And then there's also a way to make that be your default setting. So not only can you create a filter that shows you your courses, you can make it so that when you log into Coursedog and pop into courses, oh no, okay. 2 seconds. I won't go too far on this. I apologize. So let me go inside student services. Filters. We'll get there. Okay, so Coursedog, beep. Watch me navigate to it on Inside Student Services. So, and I will check my links for next time. So here we go. So on Inside Student Services, we've got, so do this and copy. Does that work better? Question mark. Yay. Okay. So that is brilliant, wonderful. Maybe I'll just do that moving forward and just have the things I need to link to just pulled up. And then setting user defaults. So let me grab that real quick. User defaults, copy. So we won't go in depth on this really, but that's just a resource link for you. And then again, that's something Jessie covers when she does Introduction to Coursedog, which is a CMS, I think 100 or 101. But here I am looking at the course landing page, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at a specific course. So if you're looking at your own courses, you can scroll to things if they're readily close to where you are. It lists 20 per page. So if you need to get beyond your 20th entry, you use the side arrows here on the top. But you can also use the search field. It's a keyword search. So because the course codes are the subject code plus the catalog number smushed together without a space, that's usually how I search for courses. So I usually search by the code. So in this case, Math 20 is Math 20, no space. But you can search by title if you want to. It'll respond to title searches as well. It's a keyword search, but that's a good way to go. So we're going to take a look at Math 20. So Math 20, you can see up here in the upper right-hand corner, we have our revisions and versions. So you can see the last time this was edited was for 21-22 autumn, which is totally fine. Especially as we're preparing for prior term copy, you only need to propose changes to your course if something's changing. If the course is active and nothing about it when it's offered, the description, anything, if nothing's changing, you don't have to touch it. It'll just roll forward to next year. The times that you want to make changes are if anything's changing, and that can include the quarter offered. But you can see we're on revision for 21-22 autumn. And if I click on the effective dating here, you can see the little side caret is letting me know I'm on the most recent entry, the top listing. And then you can see the prior entries for this course. So the last revisions for the course. And then if you look at the latest version, you can see times that changes have been made during this 21-22 autumn revision. So there's 4 changes, 3 of which have been scraping, so something pulling data, but that made a version. And you can always choose to return to the latest version, and then you'll see latest version up top. So that's revisions and versions and how they look over here. And then let's see, we're going to go through the kind of course page. So this is a typical course page. You'll have the subject code catalog number up top as well as the course title. And it's pulling specifically the short title. Then the course pages are broken into what we call cards. So you can see each of these has a sort of faint gray outline, and each of these is called a card, and each has sort of a title piece here with the little blue rectangle with kind of like a bookmarky symbol on it. So the first one is the course identity card. This is where your subject code, your catalog number, your student career, which is referring to if it's an undergrad class, a grad class, if it was GSB or law, those are careers as well. You have the long title, the short title, the course description. If a course is cross-listed, the additional offerings would be listed here. So when we talk about cross-listed courses, the course is the whole bundle, and the offerings are the individual sort of subject code catalog numbers that are part of that. So if it was a cross-listed course with, I don't know, with biology, there would be, if it was Math 20 and Bio 20, the course would be Calculus, and it has a single course ID, but then it would have two offerings, Math 20 and Bio 20. So the offerings are the individual components and the course is the whole thing. So if it was cross-listed, that information would be here. Then you've got your academic planning field. And this is especially relevant as we're getting into prior term copy, because this is where the quarters offered live. So this is where you set the revision. You can see here that the status is active. When you see this course offering status also active, this is just a Coursedog field, and it's really just for cross-listed courses. But generally speaking, you'll want this to be active and this to be active, but this is the overall course status. And then this is where you can see, so this course is planned to be offered in autumn, winter, and spring. And even though they haven't updated it yet, or may not at all, because this course just may sort of endure as it is, this course will automatically roll forward for autumn, winter, and spring. So when you're making your changes for prior term copy, that's where you'll do that. This field is only applicable for prior term copy. So noting which quarters are offered only happens for prior term copy. So when we run prior term copy, it pulls the data from this field, and that's how the system knows to populate the quarters for next year. Once we've run prior term copy, this doesn't apply anymore, and you can just make your changes directly in scheduling. So if you're adding or removing something from the year, once prior term copy is run, you don't need to update these fields. That won't affect how things are in scheduling. You can just go into scheduling. So any questions on that so far? Okay, all right. So then we've got units and repeatability, somewhat self-explanatory. You can note how many units, you can set it to variable or not. An interesting fact, hopefully this isn't too far off to mention, you can offer courses for single unit values or variable unit values. And if you set something to be variable units, say 3 to 5 units, say this is a course that has an undergrad and a grad offering on it, and the grad students are going to take it for 5, and the undergrads are going to take it for 3. You would set the course to 3 to 5 units. And then in scheduling, you would set your undergrad sections to 3 units and your grad sections to 5 units. So if you set a variable unit amount here, that allows you at the scheduling level to offer something for the full range or any single number within the range that you've set here. So that's something that can be kind of a helpful tip for folks if you've got different offerings for, undergrad or grad, something like that. Then we've got our course grading field for non-med school. So med, GSB, and law have their own grading bases. So for non-GSB law med, there's 3 RO or registrar's office grading bases. There's ROP, which is the default, and that's for students to be able to take the class as letter or credit, no credit. There's also RLT, which is allowing students to only take the course for a letter grade. And then there's RSN, which is satisfactory or no credit. So students can only take it as satisfactory or no credit. Then you have your components field, and I should probably speed myself up because we're going to do a little demo of this. So this is where you can see what the components for the class are. This is currently just a lecture class. You can see the default section size. You can see that there is a final exam that they want spaced out 2 seating. And then this is the field that lists that the lecture is both the primary and the graded component. Generally speaking, with very, very few exceptions, your primary component is always going to be your graded component. So those two should generally always match. And then for folks who are new, but also for folks who have been functioning in Coursedog for a little while, as of about a month ago, this is a brand new card. So now you can see the course schedule for this course on the course page. This isn't an editable field. If I click on it as I'm doing, it's doing nothing, but it is showing me that there are 2 sections for spring. It shows the instructors, the days, times, the room, as well as current and max enrollment. So this can be a helpful quick reference if you're looking for when you've got your courses scheduled for the year. You can toggle through the different quarters here. You can see there were 4 sections for winter, for example. So not editable, but it does kind of provide that helpful information. So that's a good piece. And then this is a course that has prerequisites. So you've got the requirements field here. If I open this up, you can see that the prerequisite to take Math 20 is to either have completed Math 19 or to have sort of placed out of it with a math placement diagnostic. So this is where you list out what the requisites should be, and then our team builds them out kind of in the back end in PeopleSoft. And I think coming up later in the summer, we're going to do a class specifically on building out requisites, if that's something that is interesting to folks. And then we've got the department administration card. So this is where you see what the campus is. This is also where school unit are listed, as well as the department, and whether or not this should show and explore courses. Also, if a student can enroll in more than one section in the same quarter, which somebody could do if they were doing multiple independent studies, for example. And this is also where you can see the WAYS designations for a class. So this is an FR, formal reasoning WAYS course. So that was a little bit fast and furious. Any questions about kind of what's on the course page, navigating the course page? You can use the scroll bar, but you can also use this table of contents on the right-hand side. So if I want to go back to the course identity card, I can just click there, whatever sort of suits your fancy. Okay. All right. So for the sake of time, I will, oh, there's one more. I missed one. I'm sorry. At the very bottom, you'll see dependencies. So this is a pretty cool feature. You can see that Math 20 is a prerequisite for Econ 102. It's a prereq to take Math 21 and to take Math 21A. So this lists if this course is being used as a prereq for a different course. And the program dependencies tells you which programs use the course as one of their requirements. So you can see all of these programs from the AABS through the Symbolic Systems BS, all of these somewhere in their requirements include Math 20 as an option of something students can or should take to meet their major requirements. So the dependencies tab is super helpful. And this is whenever you add something in your degree requirements in Coursedog, that's how this dependency relationship is created. So any questions on dependencies? No? Okay. All right. So we'll take a look at editing an existing course. Ooh, if the course is elective, should we add it to dependencies? Ooh. Rachel, can you say a little bit more about if the course is elective, should it be added to dependencies?
So for example, it's just an elective for a program, or it's just an elective course. So a student to complete our program, should we add it on, or we just leave it?
Yeah, so generally speaking, for your degree requirements, and we'll have some trainings coming up in May and June specifically about doing your program stuff in Coursedog, but if it is an option for somebody to take, so say it's an electives list, you want to have it listed there. So if it's required for students to take, or if it's one of a like choose 2 from this list of 30 things, having those listed there. And it's also really important because the bulletin is considered the document of record for degree requirements. So if you have courses that are listed on a department webpage, something like that, but they're not somehow reflected in your degree requirements in Coursedog, which then show on the bulletin, they're not official. So you're wanting to make sure if you've got things like electives lists, to the degree you're able to get them built out on your degree requirements. And when you build them in the degree requirements, it'll automatically create this dependency relationship.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's dependencies. So let's go ahead and I'll show you a little bit of editing a course. So I'm in my mode, so I have this edit course option. That's an admin feature. But for everyone else, you have a propose changes option on the right-hand side. So I would click propose changes, and I get this pop-up. It has one option, which is to edit the existing course. I'll click on that, and I will wait patiently as the Coursedog dog does the thing. There we go. So I am now in edit mode, and you can see that these fields have become editable. I can click into them and make changes. So once you do that, you can start making your changes. Anytime you see a little gray circle with a question mark, if you hover over that, that'll give you a little bit more information about the field. So if you're unclear on something and you see the little gray circle with a question mark, you can get a little more information by hovering over that. It lets you know which fields are required, and if you try to submit changes with any of your required data missing, it will give you a heads up. You'll get a little red notification on the side saying, hey, you need to do this. So it'll direct you to what's missing. So this is where you can update your quarter, your effective term or your revision. This is where you can either check off to remove or click in to add additional quarters for quarters offered. You can change units, your grading basis. You have the option to delete components and add components. So if you're switching a component from, say, lecture to seminar, you could just change it. If you wanted to add a discussion component, you would click add component, and then you get an additional piece here that you could choose, and you could choose discussion. And set the parameters for that. So since I don't want to do that to Math 20, I'll delete it, but that's how you can add additional components. You can do your requisites here, and then there's this additional comments field. You do not have to, but I always appreciate if you're feeling up to it, if you want to add a comment letting me know what the changes are. I do have a way that I can check side by side to see what the changes are, but especially if you have any special notes that you want me to know, or just in general, if you want to give a heads up or a quick summary about what the change you're proposing is, I'm always happy to read those. Those are usually very helpful. So that's the additional comments questions field. And then if and when you're ready, you can click submit proposal. Just to kind of give you an example real quick, I'm going to show you, so I haven't really made any changes yet. Actually, I'll just go test here in the additional comments field. And then I'm going to click out of it. So now, if I go back and I click on my drafts, you can see I have the draft that I started for this Math 20. And it takes me right back. And you can see that it saved the change that I made to add the comment test. And I could continue onward. And then when I was ready, I could click submit proposal, and it would pop into the workflow. In this case, I don't actually want to do anything to Math 20. So again, the special power that I have, I'm going to delete my proposal. And we're going to come back to what the proposal piece looks like in just a little bit. So that is editing a course. Any questions on editing a course? No. Oakley dokley. Then we're going to do a little bit of adding a course. And this is, I'm specifically going to show adding a cross-listed course just to show you how that works. So if I come to courses here, and you'll see up at the very top on the kind of upper left quadrant, you have this propose new course option. So if I click there, again, I get one option, which is to create a new course / cross-listing. Same form either way, just you can or cannot add cross-list information as needed. So this is the blank course form. If I was creating a standalone course, I would just go ahead and start typing in information. But if I wanted to do a cross list, I have a couple of options. Say I just did a course proposal to create an undergrad section, and now I want to create a grad section. I could click copy from proposal, and I could copy from the proposal I just created, even if it hasn't been fully approved yet. But in this case, since I don't have one of those to work from, I'm going to copy from a course. So you would click copy from a course, and then here you can start typing something in. So I'm going to fill 1, 2. So let's say I want to copy oh, I don't know, what do I want to copy? Yeah, let's do Kant's first critique, Phil 125. So say I want to create a grad section of this. Something you'll notice also is that because Phil 125 already exists, it's letting me know that I can't create another Phil 125 because that's already an active course. So it will give you a notification and stop you from adding a course that's already active in the system. So what you can see here is, say I want to create a grad level. So I know that there's no Phil 999s. So I'll create Phil 999. I get the happy little green check mark. I could change this to graduate since I want this to be a graduate level course. It pulled in the title, both short and long. It pulled in the descriptions. It pulled in the quarter that Phil 125 is currently set to be offered in. I would need to set the effective start term. And this is maybe a pause and I'll take a breath one. So whenever you're proposing something brand new, you're always going to want to choose an autumn quarter effective date. Anything new always gets an autumn start date, regardless of when you're planning to offer it. So in this case, I would say I want this new for next year. So new for 23-24 autumn. I'm happy with the units, the grading basis, the components. You can see here that it copied in main campus, but it didn't auto fill in school units. So I can start typing in H&S. And I can choose H&S, and then I know that the department here is philosophy, so I can start typing Phil, and I can choose philosophy. And I do want it to show and explore courses, so that is that. And then to create the cross-list association, what you do is you come back up to the course identity card, and you click here where it says cross-listed courses, and you have the option to create a new cross list or to add to an existing cross list. So if the course already has other offerings on it, it's existing. If the course has no offerings other than it's a standalone course, you would create new. I'm actually not sure on Phil 125, so I'm going to take my chances. So you start typing in the subject code and catalog number, and then it will search and it will let me know if it shows up, then it's not cross-listed with anything else. If it doesn't show up, then nope. Okay, so that means it's cross-listed. So I'll click here, do add to existing cross-list, and now I'll type in Phil 125. There we go, and it is cross-listed to 225, which makes sense. So you click on the option, and they'll show in blue here if they already exist. It's letting us know that the effective date is different. So these don't currently have a 23-24 autumn row. So this will be updating those. So I'll click save. And you can see now that it has added those courses to my proposal. And actually, if I make any changes, so say I want to offer this in winter as well, if you keep your eyes up near this black Stanford University, if I add in winter, you can see it says saving, all changes saved. So that's where you can see that your information is auto saving. So I'll go ahead and do submit proposal. And then I will wait for it to submit. And then in this case, I'll go ahead and view my proposal. And you can see here that this is what the proposal looks like. For cross-listed courses, anytime the information is different, you get a little yellow triangle with an exclamation point. And that's just letting you know that this information, as you've proposed it, is different than what had existed on the existing course listings. So I just updated the term offered and the quarters offered, and the rest you can see green check marks down the line. And then this is the proposal toolbox. So this is where you can see the workflow steps along the top where it says decisions. The first circle is always you as the author. And as soon as you submit it, it is approved. The second circle, if it's a cross-listed course, the second circle are impacted departments. If it's a standalone course, it just immediately comes to our team's queue. But because this is cross-listed with philosophy, if I click on this status pending, you can see that either Jill or Karina from philosophy would need to approve this for it to move into our team's queue to be processed. So that's what that looks like. And you can see they're listed as philosophy if you hover over that. And so that's kind of helpful to see where things are in the workflow. If you've submitted something and it's been more than a couple of days and it's still at the impacted department step, you are welcome to click see who needs to approve, and you can go ahead and send that person an email and just, a friendly, hey, I submitted a change that affects this course that's in your department. When you have a chance, if you could take a look and approve or something in Coursedog. People are pretty good about approving as their impacted department step, but if it's been a few days, it's totally fine to go ahead and reach out to folks. And I also will take a look and I search out for any proposals that have been pending at this step for more than 5 days. So we don't like to let things just sort of sit in the hopper here, but that's the impacted department step. Any questions about that so far? Okay. And the other thing, and this is, I think it's not too terrible to say, it's a little weird. So say, in this case, say I was in the philosophy department and I was making this change. Even though I'm in philosophy and I proposed this philosophy course, I would need to approve at the impacted department step as well. This is something that it's not super intuitive. It's in your department, but it's part of the workflow. So say you're making a change to a course that's cross-listed within your own department, like an undergrad grad section. You would submit your proposal and you would need to approve at the impacted department step for the other offering that's part of your department. That makes sense? Any questions? Okay. All right. So I want to give everybody a bit of a chance to practice. So I'm going to delete this proposal because I don't want to create Philosophy 999, nor do I want to surprise Jill and Karina with some random proposal. So we're going to go ahead and transition into practice. And I think what we're going to have you practice today is creating a new course. We'll give this maybe about 5 minutes so that we'll still have some time for wrap up, and I'll talk about processing proposals a little bit before we wrap up. But to do that, what we're going to have you do is let me have you get into Coursedog. So if you go to Stanford.coursedog.com. I'm kidding. It's stanford.coursedog.com. You can tell I have this bookmarked. So go ahead and see if you can log in, and then give a shout or pop something in the chat if you're having any trouble getting into Coursedog. So far, so good. Let me just double check and make sure I'm not too far behind on my slide. Practice activities. Yes, so I'm supposed to be showing you the slides that tell you, or coursedog.stanford.edu. I think both get you there, but anyhow. So task 1, hop into Coursedog. Task 2, let's actually have you, let's actually get, all right. Well, okay. So does anybody want to practice doing a course edit versus doing a new course preferences? Okay. So if you want to, let's go ahead and have everybody go in and go to courses and go ahead and click propose course at the top of the screen, and then choose the create new cross-listing or new course, click submit. And go ahead and see practice copying from a course. So this can be a change if you have a change you want to make right now, go for it. But if you just want to practice, we can get as far as drafts and then you can delete your draft. So let's say I'm going to do this again. I want to copy from a course, and just for funsies, I'll copy from something anthropology. And is it showing me inactive courses? That's weird. So I'll take the archaeology of climate, copy it forward. I'll say that I want this to be a history course. So I'll start typing in history. With any of these drop-down fields, you can scroll if you want to, or you can start typing and things will pop in. And lo and behold, History 103 is available. So I've created History 103, and then I want to cross-list it with history, with Anthropology 103. So what are the odds? ANTHRO 103. We'll see if this is cross-listed or not. Oh, it's thinking. Okay, so there we go. It is multiply cross-listed. So I will click save, and then you can see that the Anthro 103 and 203, as well as Archaeology 106, are all part of this cross list. So each of these is an offering on the archaeology of climate. So that's that piece. And then I would select my effective term, which I want to have be for autumn of next year. I'll say I want to make it be autumn. So let's take out spring, and I'm going to offer it in autumn specifically. All of that. And then when I'm ready, I could click submit proposal. But for the sake of practicing, when you feel comfortable, oh, I also need to put in my school unit, H and S, and I created a history class. So I'm going to choose history. So this is an anthropology course primarily, but I'm creating a history offering. So you always want to make sure that your subject code matches the department. So history course, history department, even if you're creating it from an anthropology course. And then rather than submit proposal, once you've had a chance to practice through, we'll go ahead and go to drafts, and I can show you how to delete your draft. So any questions on the practice piece as we go? Okay. All right. So then rather than submitting my proposal, actually, I'll take it back. So I could go to drafts, and I could click on my proposal, and I would have the option, as soon as the little Coursedog is done spinning, I could either submit my proposal or I could delete my proposal from here. Say I went ahead and submitted it. If I wanted to edit my proposal once it was in the workflow, I could click view proposal. And so I can see here it is in the workflow and say, oh gosh, I need to add a note here to the course description. You have this option up here to edit your proposal. If I click on that, you can see it's taken me into edit mode. So I'll just add I'm going to add a note here that says testing. And then I'm going to save my changes. Now, you'll just have one option with this, and that is to reset the workflow, which means it's going to start over again with you as the author. So if you're ever making an edit to a proposal you've submitted, you need to reapprove your edits, essentially. So you can see here that now I have the choice to either approve my proposal, which is going to pop it back into the workflow, or I can reject my proposal. So this is how you end a proposal as a department user. I apologize, the delete proposal is an option that I have as an admin, but you have this reject button. If you reject your own proposal, it doesn't disappear, but it does stop being active. So you could look at it in your proposals queue as, created by me, that sort of a thing, but you couldn't make any more edits to it or put it back into the workflow. So as an author, if you reject your own proposal, you're essentially putting a stop to it. It's archived, so you can view it as sort of a historical record, but you can't work with it anymore. But in this case, let's say I wanted to approve. So I'm going to approve the changes I made and click approve, and I'll click submit decision. And you'll see it's popped back into the workflow to the impacted department step, which in this case, because it has both anthropology and archaeology on it, you can see that both anthropology and archaeology need to approve. You can also see here that anthropology has 3 approvers for their department and archaeology has 1. Now, while there are 3 people who are approved or are set as approvers for anthropology, only one of these folks needs to approve it for their step to be taken care of. So if you're a department, especially if you're med school, which I think under med, there's like a whole bunch of folks, only 1 approver per department needs to approve for that step to be taken care of. So Allie, Tina, or Debbie could approve and off it would go for them. And in this case, Maria is the 1 person for archaeology who has that ability. So any questions about approving as a department or editing a proposal and submitting it onward? No? Okay. So I'm going to use my special powers and delete this proposal so it doesn't hang out in the world somewhere. So we're going to see if there's anything else I want to tell you about proposals. So this is the proposals landing page. So if say I was on the proposals, I have you can go to my proposals or proposals. If I click on my proposals, it takes me to the same page as if I clicked on proposals. It just takes me to either created by me or votes required. So if you go to my proposals, it takes you to created by me. If you have anything as a department approver that you need to approve, it would be under your votes required tab. So that's how you can kind of navigate through here and see proposals that need your votes versus things you've created like that. So that's kind of navigating the proposals tab. Any questions? Okay, all right. So I will pop back over to my little presentation here. And working with proposals, get proposals in your queue for review, cross-listed proposals if you're an impacted department. Also, there we go, routing things back. So say, let's see, I need to create a proposal to route it back. Since this is approved, I can't do anything with it. So we have the ability to route something back. So I'm just going to really quickly make an edit proposal on something. I know we scheduled this for an hour and it's doable, but I think when we want to have people practice, it makes a bit of a squish. So I'm sorry if I'm like charging ahead. I want to make sure to get everybody all the information. So you would do proposed changes. I'd edit my existing course and then doodly do. And I would wait for the Coursedog to think. I'm going to type test into the comments field. I'm going to submit it. And then me, as Hillary, as a member of the curriculum and scheduling team, I will go to my proposals. And I now have a task in my votes required because I am part of the curriculum and scheduling team. So if I click on this, on my end, I have the option to approve it, to reject it. Force approve is something we don't really use because approving approves it. But I have the option to route something back. So say I'd done something like put in 60 units or 30 units instead of 3. And I saw, oh gosh, 30 isn't a valid unit amount that somebody can take a course for. So what I could do is I could add a comment that says, it would be more polite, but I'm trying to be brief. So 30 units is not a valid unit count. Please update and boy, oh boy, and submit. Thanks, me. So I click route back and I'm choosing to send it back to the author, which in this case just happens to be me. And I'm going to say that it needs to come back through the workflow. So if I click submit decision, I, as the author, now can approve it, reject it, or suspend it. That's not really one we use, but you could either approve it or reject it. But if I get this approval back and I see that I've got something in my workflow that needs my attention, and I'm like, well, why did this come back? You want to click on this activity tab here. So proposal toolbox, activity tab. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that there's a note that says 30 units is not a valid unit count. Please update and resubmit. And it says that I sent it back. So if ever you get a proposal returned to you, be sure to go to your proposal, click on the activity tab and scroll to the end. We will always include a note if we're returning a proposal. You're also welcome to reach out if you have questions about the note that we send back with the proposal, but that's how you can see what we're asking you to update before resubmitting your proposal. So any questions about that piece, about having a proposal sent back to you for edits, anything like that? Okay. All right, you can edit and call back your proposals. We did that. And then we don't have time. But I know we've got 2 minutes left, so I want to be really mindful of your time. So we have a training survey that I'm going to ask folks to fill out. I will also send an email out after this with the survey information. So if that's, I'm going to pull it up over here on the side of my screen, but out loud. I think I closed my window. No, I didn't. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to close down here, any URL. Sorry, thank you for bearing with me. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to put a few things into the chat. So this is the survey. Please, if you've got a couple minutes, take a little time and fill that out. Getting your feedback helps us make these trainings better. For instance, I'm starting to wonder if we don't need a little more than an hour for this one to get through everything. And then a helpful page for you to bookmark is the Inside Student Services page. This is specifically the page for course management. So if you go to this page, if I click on that and pop into it, it's not working, that's fine. So this takes you specifically to, words today. That takes you specifically to information about courses. Inside Student Services, we have learning materials for scheduling and for programs and all of that, but this specifically links to the course management page. And then last but not least, any closing questions? I know we're right up on time. I hope I didn't go too fast. I can start to kind of run my little motor. Any questions anybody has? Any concerns? No. Okay.
Yeah, I know the recording is going to be shared. Is the PowerPoint also going to be available?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I think we can go ahead and make the PowerPoint available. I'll send that out. I think I'll double check with Jessie about how she wants to do that, but I'll probably send it out as part of the email that I do as a follow-up, or we'll get it posted on Inside Student Services. So, but one way or the other, we'll get the slide deck to you as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point. Maybe. Nope. It's like my day for technology, apparently. Okay, stop. Okay. All right. So